Um, so yeah, Paul, like, please tell us about yourself, right?
I'm with the San Francisco Giants. Been there with them as a full-time employee for about just over 3 years. Had done some consulting for them, helped them stand up their first data warehousing tech stack. Well, believe it or not, in 2019, that's the believe it or not portion. They didn't have a hard time selling tickets when they were winning the world champion, what we call world championships, even though it's only U.S. based, but it's you know. Anyway, so helped them stand up their first warehouse, and then joined them full time 3 years ago when I thought I was going to kind of go soft retire.
Amazing, amazing. And like, I know before you were doing some work at Data Climber, right?
Yes, yeah, I was spent 4 years with helped build up a consultancy from myself and the primary biz dev guy, Aaron Clymer, namesake of the company. Got it up to about 60 consultants, but then we got a little too big for our britches.
Nice.
But
All right.
you can see lots of years in the industry. Been doing ETL and getting into the data warehousing space. Was writing Linux scripts and Oracle stored procedures back when that was all the rage in the early aughts.
Well, that is a nice segue into I think what life was maybe like at the Giants when you joined. So for anyone listening, you guys probably know that the Giants are the baseball team and that the stadium is called Oracle Park. But it took me a trip to San Francisco watching baseball with Paul to actually realize that Oracle Park was called that because it was sponsored by Oracle. But that was just me being dense. But yeah, Paul, tell us. So when you joined the Giants, like, what was the state of data? Like, how were they using it? Like, what was the architecture? Like, what was it like when you first started?
So again, I have to take some of the responsibility for what it was in 3 years ago when I joined. Early in 19 and 20, when we stood up their warehouse, they didn't have any tech guys. Snowflake was just starting to become all the rage. Because they had a couple of business analysts who did Tableau-y things, we thought a graphical GUI might make sense. So we introduced a tool called the Matillion, and when we stood up our, basically AWS, Matillion, Snowflake, Tableau kind of data warehouse, started bringing data into Snowflake and pointing our, the Tableau reports at it, and away we went. I went off and would do projects for the Giants. Annually, they like to bring me in, just to kind of can do a sanity check. But what it kind of led to was a pretty fractured kind of platform. Matillion wasn't very friendly with playing with Tableau, and we had ETL processes running and our Tableau extracts. We tried to develop things, ID impotent from the warehousing side, and then just kick off the reports. But we could get some lags, if the timing was wrong, up to 4 hours, because it was very difficult for us to, in this one use case, connect Matillion to a Tableau extract, from either end. It was virtually impossible from Tableau. We could have attempted it from Matillion, but that Tableau API, if anyone's ever worked with it, I don't know if I need to say more.
Yeah, but I guess maybe taking a step back. So I took the liberty of putting something together for us, so we can just see, I guess, what was happening. So you guys are saying, you started with standing up a Snowflake and then putting a Matillion in to move the data.
Yeah.
But where was the data starting from? Like, what type of data was that? Because I think the people would be really interested in hearing about, the MLB, the BigQuery stuff.
Yep. Good. Thanks for redirecting. So. Again, I'm on the business side. There's two sides of our shop. One is, getting ready for drafts and player analysis. Why is Johnny's fastball slowing down? On the business side, we get most of our data from two sources. Our ticketing platform, tickets.com, which MLB actually kind of owns now. And MLB is the parent organization to all American baseball teams. So when I say MLB, we are almost, though we're a standalone business, we are at the mercy of a lot of what they say. So we get a lot of data directly from them that they provide, that they aggregate out up at the MLB level. That lives in BigQuery. TDC, the ticketing data is now in BigQuery, but back when we stood it up was in an Oracle database. We have our Salesforce instance. So all these data pieces were kind of all over the place. And so we were grabbing all that stuff and moving it into Snowflake at the time via Matillion.
And apart from the ticketing data, like what else do you get from MLB?
Yeah, so a lot of lifetime value stuff, RFM metrics.
What are RFM metrics?
Refresh frequency and monitor, like how often are we engaging with someone and how much money are we getting from them?
Right.
Because they have a better view of individuals outside of dealing with the Giants. A lot of baseball fans do multiple teams, multiple stadiums, so they have a better view of that. What else do we bring in? Again, a lot of game metrics, though. We do, so all the things baseball game related, scheduling and weather, and things of that nature.
It's kind of crazy that MLB obviously collect all of that data and then make it available to you, but then all the other baseball teams as well. I don't think I've ever asked you this, but how do you guys connect into it? Surely you don't all just have access to some same shared database.
So no, they actually have a pretty they let's call it sharding out. It is co-load, but we only see Giants data.
Okay.
They have all the teams. And part of they have a mixture of architectures. A lot of it is individual team views. So if we can leave it at that. Sometimes they physicalize the data.
Well, we'll have to make MLB a customer, and then we can grill them on it, Paul.
Yeah. No,
right.
They're an interesting data partner.
Awesome. Okay, so you guys got MLB data in BigQuery, data in places like tickets.com. You guys stand up a Snowflake instance, and you're sort of using Matillion to move the data across. And that was self-hosted Matillion, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
They a little EC2 server running up in our account with software on it. Yeah.
And I remember when we first started talking, you were looking at needing to monitor their cloud offering and also the stuff that was running on the EC2 as well. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so again, we kept having to go to different places to find out what the health of our environment was, right? We go to Snowflake for pure query stuff. We go up to Matillion for pure they call their high level execution pieces orchestrations. But so it was just a mishmash of having to always move around different tech stacks over to BigQuery to find out what happened to queries. And it was not fun. And we could have led into this with we're a team of 1.5. I'm a solution architect that does quite a bit of engineering, and I have one full-time engineer, so we're really lean. I mean, we're just kind of busy, all the time.
Yeah, but you're powering, other stakeholders in the team, right?
I'm talking about just from a data management standpoint.
Oh, right.
purely data engineering perspective. We have 4 analysts, we have 3
Right, exactly.
subject matter experts supporting the business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's quite interesting because we're seeing that structure sort of become more and more commonplace, where you've got, like a reasonable sized data team.
Yes.
But then the sort of skew of skills is more towards people that know what's happening with the business.
Yeah, it's an
right?
upside down funnel.
Yeah. But then obviously, you're stuck with legacy tools which are hard to use and debug. But I guess what was the process like when you had Matillion in place, when something failed and you were trying to work out what happened?
Again, we would start with with notifications out of Matillion. They weren't the best at they would indicate that something failed. They would try to bubble up the error messages, but again, we would end up undoubtedly over in Snowflake tracking down the query, or over in BigQuery finding out why, was the query too large to try to bring across via an API. Again, just a very fractured experience for monitoring the health of our systems.
Nice. Yeah. And I guess fractured experience was obviously top of mind then when you guys started working with this, and before you found us, I guess. Like, what were the other challenges that you guys had on your radar?
Yeah, well, if you remember too, Hugo, one of my challenges was I was getting disenfranchised with our middle tier partners, right? The support had decreased, the value prop of Matillion I wasn't happy with, and so I was already getting dissatisfied with having a graphical in the middle anyway, and I needed the ability to have a plane, if you will, to easily swap in and out pieces as I migrated away from Matillion. Which we just recently did, turned off the box last month, and it would have been virtually impossible without, or so much more difficult without something like Orchestra.
You can say virtually impossible. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, no, it would have been a nightmare, really, because we just started putting all of our schedules and all of our artifacts in Orchestra and monitoring from there, and then as we were swapping out a Matillion process for a purely Pythonic process, or other BigQuery to Snowflake to Python to Tableau, we were just able to easily swap in and out from Orchestra at the time what the process was. These guys were very responsive with supporting API calls to execute Matillion tasks and Tableau tasks and things of that nature. It was very helpful.
Yeah, well, I remember something we discussed when we first met was this idea of having a modular architecture that sort of allowed you guys to be a bit leaner.
Yes.
I guess how have you sort of started leveraging that? And I'm thinking about some of those connectors you now have running on your own AWS instances instead.
Yeah. So we're already, bearing fruits of our decision to go with Orchestra. We David, who my lead engineer, just the fact that we can easily execute a BigQuery query to tell us to continue down our pipelines. Executing some Python, going out to executing or kicking off our Tableau extracts. Just everything is more modular. But I know I went off track. Hugo, ask your question again and make sure I answer here. I want to stay on track.
Oh, I just thought it'd be interesting if you spoke about how you took some of those connectors that you had in Matillion, and moved them into Python and in AWS.
Yeah. Well, that was, I was just doing some vibe coding, literally taking chunks of code and wrapping them in Orchestra widgets. I do have a big Python server out there running with SSM and your connectivity capabilities with.
Because you connect to like some of your on-premise.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun to be able to kind of do what I need to do. If I have a little widget, I just let you guys know, go run this, right? And here's the code, go run it, go get it from my Git repo. If I have something larger going on, we do quite a bit of, one of our main responsibilities of this warehouse is our customer master data management application. And we have some.
Maybe let's talk about that. So so I've got that here. I think this is your Melissa pipeline.
So we use this software called Melissa Data, and it's from our United States Postal Service. Maybe not the leading edge of technology, but they do have a very deep database of addresses. And so we use them for standardizing. And they have a standardization API call. So we standardize our data, but then we present it to this thing that they call Melissa, which is really just a deduplication software. But it's kind of older architecture. It's less expensive. As I mentioned, we're a lean organization. We're also, we don't have open pocketbooks for expensive softwares and MDM applications. And we built an in-house master data management application around our customer to give us a customer 360 view. Melissa is a pig. It builds a huge database in memory, right? It's not API calls. We have to build all this stuff up. We were routinely crashing our Matillion server because we had our ETL and our Melissa on the same server. With Orchestra's help, I was able to break that up a little bit and get Melissa out on its own server so we could handle much heavier workloads within our pipeline.
Right, exactly. But then I guess you didn't lose the visibility of what was going on.
No, it increased actually.
Yeah. Because
you can see like these little widgets that we see in our pipelines that Hugo has up on the slide. When we have to try to drill through Matillion's, they call it task history. It was just like looking for a needle in a haystack. And this guy, we come in, where's the error? We pop out to the, to the view logs. Sometimes they're large applications. We got to go in and look at the, the full log, but due to truncation, we have to truncate some of these massive logs.
Yeah.
But just the modularity has improved our life, which has actually led us to be like we are routinely decreasing our dependency on failure analysis because we are responsive and cleaning things up. So,
would you say you guys have become more proactive or reactive since you started using Orchestra?
I wish I could say proactive. Again, with 1.5 engineers, it's still a little reactive. But what the tool has allowed us to do is identify quickly what's going on, identify quickly the little AI agent to say, hey, give me a starting point for what's going, what the error is invaluable. It's just a nice little tucked-in feature of the tool that we're leveraging. So we are still a little reactive, but we are progressing towards proactiveness. If that.
Yeah, you have a very high bar, Paul. I think a lot of people would say they've become a lot more proactive. But no, it's very cool. I guess for anybody sort of wondering what Paul's talking about. So if you see here, we basically have a couple of Snowflake tasks. So in this case, Orchestra is just sending queries to Snowflake, and then this is an EC2 task, isn't it, Paul?
Yes.
So this is like triggering the process on your EC2 server.
Yep.
That is sort of all around the Melissa and the deduplication.
Yes.
And then you've got another Snowflake task, and then another sort of like Melissa.
Yeah.
Melissa job. So I think it's quite interesting for anyone that's used sort of something like an Airflow before, right? Because
absolutely.
you sort of have the like scheduling, but then all the data processing in the same place, and then obviously if the data processing steps over the scheduling, then everything goes down, and then everything's screwed. But I guess by having this slightly more modular architecture with a lightweight orchestrator on top, you guys have been able to sort of like spit out those processes, but guess not lose any visibility. which I think
No,
is,
not lose any
and
visibility.
it's cheap. It's cheap, right? Like that
Yes.
EC2 server doesn't cost you anything.
No. We've driven down our costs actually like 50% by just ripping out Matillion, and which has been very helpful. That particular slide is actually the first EC2 call. That's our standardized the data that we're going to present to the deduplicator, so we know we're always sending in the same looking John Smith and address of visibility. So yeah, the first one, Personator, is the goofy software that's underneath the covers that standardizes, and then we get our standardized responses back, and we do some cleansing and prepping in the next Snowflake task.
Well, I didn't realize this because, like Brandon says, I was way too zoomed out. But you know, we're actually quality checking the data as well as we go, aren't we?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, what that allows us to do is just kind of say, hey, do I even need to bother executing downstream applications? So that's really to say, hey, did my first query give us anything? We run this thing, you know, at different periods. But
of course, because we've got the branching here. So yeah. Sometimes the Orchestra UI is so subtle, even I don't see what's going on. So. Yeah. Guys, Paul is doing something here which is brilliant, which is sort of checking the state of the data before we process it in flight. So sort of saying, hey, look, like, do we actually have anything new here, or like anything interesting that we want to process? Then only processing it if that is the case. So again, just like avoiding redundant compute. It's like,
yes, yeah.
This is what happens when you're an architect, I guess, Paul. You see these things.
Yeah. If you stay in the space long enough, Hugo, they got to call you something different than a data engineer. I don't know.
Fantastic. Okay, awesome. So, I mean, look, I guess I think the people would love to talk about a few more of the use cases that you guys are using Orchestra for. So, I guess we spoke about this one. Maybe you could walk us through another one.
Well, listen, you know, well, two things around this thing, that your triggering mechanism, and again, it sounds simple, but in Airflow, it wasn't simple, and in other softwares. But for me to just say, hey, this is my primary application, and pipeline A, trigger pipeline B, trigger pipeline C, it's just nicely architected. And the ease of which I was able to pick this stuff up and go. These guys write clean, concise instructions on using their tasks, their widgets in their pipelines. I know this is up top. I'm not in use cases, but I want to talk about the product for a second.
Yeah, of course.
Is just you know, early on, Hugo, you know, I always loved the conciseness of your documentation. I just, you know, you go anywhere else, and I'm like, you know, I don't have time to figure out the.
You don't want to learn the framework.
I don't want to learn the framework. Just tell me what to frickin' do so I can get the task done on hand. Our Tableau problems you guys have helped us solve.
Oh yeah.
You know, that has just been, it was always a black boxy nightmare. Analysts coming and going, Johnny's report hasn't refreshed, and now we just have fantastic, much better visibility into you know, what's going on, because we're executing our extract refreshes directly from the same plane that we're doing all of our other ETL work from.
Yeah, I guess it's almost like a double-edged sword, right? Because the execution is automated and reliable, but then people also then end up coming to you guys less, because because they also know what's going on and can see when the data's fresh.
And that for us is almost a form of being proactive. I know, really.
It definitely is.
You have to wait for Johnny to go, hey, what's going on with my Tableau report, right? Seriously, it was because we didn't like, you know.
I think even after 20 years of AI, we're still going to be in that situation where somebody is saying, "Hey, is my data fresh?"
True.
Okay. And I know we spoke a lot about frameworks and migrations, and you know, we have an orange slide here with DBT in it, and we don't have much longer, but could you touch on what you guys are doing with the EQS there?
Yeah. So
And how orchestras helped, obviously.
when migrating away from Matillion, it was pretty big. You know, we had over 400 orchestrations, pieces of code that we had to,
Wow.
you know, thumbs up or thumbs down. Listen, a lot of these projects you use to clean house a little bit anyway. Like, you know, just do we really need it? Prioritize it, you know, and that kind of stuff. But as we were moving away, you know, I still know that we need some sort of SQL management to go on, right? Now, I hadn't personally done anything with DBT. I was always far in the back end and getting data into the warehouse, and not so much the transformation layer where DBT excels. So with Orchestra as you know, again, our control plane, we've been able to just kind of get introduced to DBT. We decided to, because I don't want to stand up. Again, we're a lean group. We're using DBT core. We're actually leveraging Snowflake as our UI. So Snowflake and DBT are in bed. Snowflake, we do our you know, our modeling and our macros and all that stuff, and it gets up into, manages it into our Git repo. Where we sit today is only because of timelines. This is all just hot off the press stuff. We are executing our DBT through Orchestra, but through Snowflake's syntax.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting, isn't it? So yeah, maybe just to rehash, what Paul is saying is that, like, you know, we like the Snowflake UI, and now you can edit DBT code there. So that's what they're doing. And then, just for ease and speed's sake, for now, we're also updating and running the sort of DBT code in Snowflake itself. But obviously, with Orchestra, you can still trigger it, like by sending a Snowflake query. So yeah, but obviously, you know, the Orchestra can run DBT core as well, and that's something we do for many people. And yeah.
Yeah, the next thing we're going to do, though, Hugo, is you know, do the plumbing for our Orchestra DBT connector to go right into the repo to get.
And then you'll keep all of that visibility, all of that
visibility even more. So right now we are a little fractured with our DBT logging because where it's executed, it's difficult for you guys to get it up, and we are going to go into Orchestra's DBT connectivity capabilities to really streamline all that. But we brought in a consulting group to help us scale DBT.
Oh, fantastic. Well, look, guys, that was we are at time, but we do have one question. So I think we might as well answer it. So Paul, Oliver Dexter has asked, do the Giants use Orchestra to manage analytics workloads as well? Is that still through Snowflake?
No, it's through Orchestra. If you mean analytics workloads, you mean building our data marts or Tableau execution for our extractions. All of it's through Orchestra. I'm not big on Snowflake's.
Snowflake tasks.
Yeah, Snowflake.
Why not? Yeah. Okay, maybe not. Why not? That'll take us another hour. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, like, just you know, guys, just maybe virtual clap, and thank you to Paul for taking time out of your day for joining this webinar. Thank you, everyone. Virtual clap for joining as well. Hopefully this was interesting. You know, we tried to keep it relevant, tried to keep it informal, tried to keep it conversational, but I've really enjoyed this. So yeah, thanks so much, Paul, and I'll see you later.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Connect, reach out if you have questions.
Yeah.